me out, I'm missing a few things. Housing, taxes, saving for old age, senior citizens, and the biggest one for me, a lot of people might not know this, what is the biggest environmental detriment to society right now? You should know this.
You're going to say something that I'm probably not going to agree with, but go for it.
Kids.
Kids, I knew it!
I mean, hey, if you can afford to have kids and you have one or two kids, look at the richest countries in the world. This is like Korea, Canada, Taiwan, Sweden.
But who cares? Why do you care about that?
Because I want to live to a ripe old age in a nice, clean, environmentally friendly world, and I want to see future generations. Even though I don't have kids, I want to see future generations have the same economic, educational, healthcare, environmentally friendly world that I grew up in.
I'm glad you added other people's kids, because no offense, but you're looking a little ripe.
Well, I'm not going to have kids, man. I don't have kids. I ain't having kids. But, I mean, it's for the future of the entire society of this blue ball that we live on. So, I mean, I feel concerned for your kids and your grandkids.
Fair enough. We both grew up here in Alberta, right? Similar age, similar socioeconomic, maybe.
You're way older than I am.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, like, a lot of our peers, a lot of our relatives, a lot of our neighbors we grew up with, quite honestly, most of them couldn't give a shit.
They don't give a fuck.
Right?
As long as they have a nice, clean, warm house and money in the bank, they don't give a shit about anything else. No, I've had this argument with my family.
Right, but what happened? What happened along the way that little Brent and little Kelly, somewhere in their evolution, decided, you know what, I'm going to give a shit?
You know what? That's a good question. So, I mean, I've had this conversation with lots of family members, lots of friends. By the way, I'm an environmental professional, so I've done all kinds of oil and gas work, environmental monitoring, construction sites, haz waste work. So I've got a good background, plus we met working at Greenpeace. And why I started, I don't know what it was that gave me that itch, that I care itch, that you and I and so many of our at least past friends or acquaintances have had. I don't know, man. What started you off?
I'm doing the interview.
Well, it's got to be back and forth, man.
I know.
That's the damn question.
That's also a very good question. I agree. That is a good question. What started off? I think it has something to do with, for me, it goes back to childhood. So I didn't like being deceived and being the runt of the litter, youngest of four. And you met my family. You met my siblings.
Well, you might be the youngest. You're not the smallest, and you're quite an aggressive man, in a nice way.
Right. But I think because of that, I think I just liked the underdog story growing up. So it made me kind of have compassion for the underdog, and we grew up a little bit on the poor side, so maybe it gave me compassion in that regard. And then I guess and then it really turned on for me when I happened on a Earth Day event at Queen's Park in Toronto.
Like at what age?
19 years old.
You're not a kid anymore at this point.
No, I'm not a kid anymore. But that was when I met my first Greenpeace person. Met David Suzuki, found out all the shit that was going on in the world. I'm like, holy crap, somebody should do something about all this.
Yeah.
But you came to it a little bit earlier, before the Greenpeace.
You know,
but as far as caring, maybe not for the environment specifically, but
I just remember, I grew up in a small town, and you used to see garbage lined the ditches. People would just be throwing beer boxes out and fried chicken boxes out, and you'd look in the ditch and you see all this fucking garbage. And it drove me bonkers, man, even way back when. Like, why would you do that, man?
So you weren't part of that crew that was just wantonly firing empties?
You know, we drink beer and drive and toss out the occasional beer bottle and try and catch a sign. If we could smash a sign, that was a pretty good.
So it was for sport. You weren't littering just to be...
No, hell no. We broke the glass anyway, so... But I think it started there. Just general littering. And then it kind of picked up over time.
Yeah, but what... Okay, so that's
and then
good.
As I grew up, it was kind of Save the Whales. That kind of really caught a lot of traction, back in the earlier days, like what? Mid to late 80s, maybe?
So you saw it on TV or something?
I'm guessing so. I don't really recall. But
you grew up in a small town in Alberta. right? It's
Very
not
small.
for the viewers. It's not really a bastion of progressive ideology in small town Alberta in the 1970s, 80s,
Let's see,
or today.
It's a small town, Ukrainian, northern Alberta, full of rednecks and lots of dickheads.
So how did that go over when you were like, hey man, don't throw your fucking garbage in the ditch? Or did you just like go out on your own after hours and pick up people's litter? Or?
No, I didn't pick up people's litter. Just pissed me off. Growing up in small town northern Alberta as being somewhat of a sensitive person didn't go over very well.
So you probably got beat up.
Oh, beat up and bullied all the fucking time, man. That's probably what helped me make myself into more of a sensitive person because I understand what it's like to be at the wrong end of the stick.
Okay, so that's a similar origin that I'm sensing here. But you know, you got picked on. You didn't like that. And you didn't like the consequences.
Someone's got to stand up to the man, no?
Right. But it's almost kind of ironic, right? If someone is getting picked on themselves, it almost means like we're too young. We don't have that ability to stand up for ourselves. But failing that, when we get old enough, maybe we'll stand up for other people. Is it subconscious? Was there a conscious decision there?
I don't know, man. I mean, I probably bullied kids a bit smaller than myself back years and years ago when I was a kid.
Right.
Not realizing how stupid it was. Realizing it, you know, as I got a little older. But I don't know, man. It was.
To be fair, bullying was pretty normal.
Oh,
in the
fuck.
70s and 80s.
Average, everyday part of life, man.
And abuse.
You were either bullied.
Corporal punishment, all that stuff.
You were the bully or the bullied.
Right.
It kind of always happened that
Dog
way.
eat dog.
And that went from the kids in school to the parents to teachers, like everybody.
What about your big sister? She ever get wailing on you? No, you don't have to answer that.
That's a good one. That's actually funny. Yes, my sister was 3.5 years older than me. Also a bit of an aggressive person. I mean, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but someone with a lot of personality who stands up for themselves, shall we say. And
That's not a good word, aggressive.
she moved out when I was 14 and she was 18. Moved to the big city. And she was home one weekend, and it was a Sunday. I think she was probably hungover. And we have one TV, one remote, nothing fancy. We didn't have cable. We had 3 channels. Anyway, we were fighting over what to watch on a Sunday morning. And she got a little argumentative, and she pushed me, and I fucking just gave her a roundhouse. Just clobbed her right across the chin. Classic shot, knocked her to the ground. Cold, stone, out, man. Just out. Anyway, that was the last time we had a physical altercation.
With her or with anybody?
Oh, I've never been a fighter. I've had a few over the years, but backed into a corner, you know.
So the moral of the story is you eventually stood up for yourself and it put an end to the bullying.
Well, then she kind of figured out that she couldn't push me around anymore because I was
consequences.
A foot taller than her. Wasn't just a little brother anymore. Anyway,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not much for physical altercations or, you know, what's the word? Just, not physical altercations, but just confrontation. I'm not a big confrontational person.
So you took it through your life, right? You cared enough to get a degree in environmental science, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, like you're pushing, what, 70? Like to this...
Considering you're older than I am. Look, who's got more hair, man? Do that again. I got the gray going on. It's not even gray, it's just white. I get it, but...
No, anyways, the point is for decades now, you've been a professional environmentalist, essentially.
Well, I got into Greenpeace, which was the professional environmentalist, but I got into Greenpeace back when we first met in, what was it, 91, I think? So that's already 34 years.
34.
Oh, 34, pardon me. Then graduated with a BSc in environmental science in 1998. Then spent a few years just traveling around, you know.
Doing your thing.
Do my thing, and then got back. Been doing this anyway, a professional environmentalist for about 16 years now.
Nice.
And a few more years to go.
And you could have, and you still could, probably, choose slightly different job prospects and make crap ton more money in the areas that you work in, because you're working in oil and gas and big industry and energy and these types of places. People are making 6 figures and
I'm making 6 figures.
Okay, well, So you could probably make a higher six figure.
Put it this way. So for those who don't know, let me break it down. So I went to university to get my environmental science degree and to save the world, as we thought we'd do, and we joined Greenpeace. And then consequently we went on with other friends to form the Concerned Citizens of Edmonton. Unfortunately, it was pre-internet, so there's almost no record of it, except a few photos that Kelly might have, because he's fucking lazy to go through his catalog to find these photos.
Okay, for the record, several months ago, Brent said, I got all these photos and all these things. I'm going to bring them down. It's going to be great. I never said I had any photos, but now...
I know you do, and I looked for those things I can't find them. I moved a few times. I'll look again.
Actually,
anyway.
it's probably... I probably did say I did have some photos.
You did.
But what I really want...
Wait, let me finish.
Okay.
Train of thought. So, got my environmental science degree to get out there and change the world, clean it up. So what happens as an environmental professional is you graduate and you get a job, often with a consulting firm, consulting on your own. So companies make messes. There's, pipeline leaks, and there's spills, and there's gas stations all leak or have leaked. They're getting a little better. Big construction projects with this huge environmental implications or impacts. So what we do as environmental professionals is we monitor them to make sure they try and follow the regulations as well as possible. What happens? They still make messes. So then we go in there and we help them clean it up. So there's a few things that happen. Let's just say it's an oil and gas site, for example. So there's hydrocarbons leaking in the soil or the environment. So you dig them up, make a big hole, and then you stockpile them and transport them to a disposal facility, which is a big clay-lined hole. And you put them in there, and you put another meter of clay on top, and you bury it, and it's gone. You can take the soil, that same soil that you just dug up, and you can incinerate it. You just got it. But then all the hydrocarbons volatilize in the atmosphere, and you have a pile of ash instead of a pile of healthy soil. Or you can land farm the soil. So that means just you find a big open spot of soil, dirt, whatever, soil, and you spread the contaminated material over the soil, and you just disc it back and forth and break it up and mix it in the other soil, which volatilizes, again, the VOCs or volatile organic compounds in the atmosphere. And then you can work with the soil, regardless of all those things. So there's no way to clean it up. What you do is you just transfer it from the dirty spot to another spot to dispose of it. So whether it gets buried or volatilized in the atmosphere, it doesn't get cleaned up. So what environmental professionals do primarily is clean up messes with the best technology we have available to enable the polluters to keep polluting as per government guidelines. So that's what I do. That's what we do for the most part.
So how does that feel after several years? Like you feel like are you winning? Like are you making an impact or
no?
You wish that maybe
it's kind of crushing. You do what you can.
You wish maybe you picked a degree with like higher six-figure potential.
One of our friends, Barb, started going to university and taking business, and she was gonna she was gonna get into business and work from the inside of business out. That might be a better way to progress or become a politician, an honest one, if there's such a thing. I didn't know at the time. We tried, and we do our best to clean things up. But in the end, once it's destroyed, once you tamper with, remove, destruct an ecosystem, it's a really long, arduous process to bring it back to life, to bring the variety of species back of plants first, and then animals. It's years, not decades. I've been thinking of an old growth forest or think of a clear cut, right? So we're running out of options, in my opinion. We need to do a better job. And people just have to be of what's going on out there, as opposed to being more aware of what's in their bank account. Sorry, giving them the fact that, I mean, people are having a hard time these days. So,
are you able to have? You said you had a little bit of this types of conversations with your family. Like, is that something you're able to do in your daily life with work friends and stuff like that? Are you able to talk about these macro issues, or is it all just fluff?
Well, no, of course we have, just like you and I are talking about it right now. It's not just fluff, but you have to portray to people the importance of what's going on out there, especially with climate change now. And a lot of people just don't give a shit. I mean, if you're a family that's, near poverty, do you care about the environment? Do you care about feeding your family? If you're on the middle class or a wealthier side, and you're doing okay, and you can afford groceries and a car and insurance and a house and et cetera, getting your kids in school and giving them hockey and whatever activities they have, do they really care? Because they're doing okay. So who are the ones that care enough to make a change?
Well, that's a good...
And to have the influence.
Right. Also a good question. But I'm more concerned about who cares. Like, why do you care? We know why you care. What I'm curious, I guess, is knowing you care and knowing what you do isn't really going to reach the ultimate goals that you'd hope for when you set out on your career path. I mean, besides the paycheck and making sure you're not homeless, what lights your fire every morning?
Right now, actually, I mean, I'm planning to retire in hopefully about 4 years. It'll be a little earlier, maybe, but it won't be quite 65. Right now, it's just a paycheck. I'm frustrated. When we used to do these things, and I wish there was internet and we could show you what we did. It was some spectacular, brazen, out of this world stuff that would actually probably shock some people, a lot of people. We fought a hard fight. And then we got destroyed by the Edmonton Journal, which is a whole other story. It's a fight for younger people that are still super passionate and can take a beating or bash their head against a brick wall countlessly until they can't bash it on a brick wall anymore. Kelly and I both done our piece, still trying. I'm not so much. I do it professionally. I don't do it personally, but I bashed my head against that proverbial brick wall for fucking years. And I can't do it anymore.
The last question, it's a little bit touchy of a question. So don't take it the wrong way, because it's going to reflect on me as well. But how do we value somebody's good work and somebody's good intentions if in their life, maybe from time to time, they were a complete asshole, or they did something really fucking horrible one time, or
well, fuck off, we both done that.
I see. I told you to reflect on me as well. Don't take it personally. I just, because I struggle with that as well. It's like, wow, I've done some good things, but if I polled everybody, not everybody's gonna say, yeah, Kelly, he's awesome, right? Some of them might say that fucking guy is a giant asshole. I hate him. There's nothing good about that guy.
I don't guys you think that about you.
Right? It's probably not true. But likewise, people might say, I fucking hate that Brent guy. I just don't like him.
Are you kidding me? There's lots of people who don't have a very favorable opinion of me.
Fair enough. Now, now we also encounter people in our lives online or whatever. We might think first or second impression, good person, bad person. They're doing good work. I'm just curious, in your personal life, are you able to suspend judgment on somebody as a whole and look at the work they're doing and be able to judge that separately? Or are you more in line with the times and it's like, oh, that Kelly, he said a bad word that's not allowed anymore, or used the wrong pronoun, so we're gonna fucking cancel him, and it doesn't matter about any of the good work that he's done?
It's a much bigger question. You've asked a much bigger question than you really think you have.
Right.
I try to be open-minded. Trying to think about keeping some good karma in the bank. again, part of this whole thing we discussed at the beginning about the internet and how it's affecting us and how much more news and information we're getting. I'm so fucking sick of woke. If someone, are you a he, she, they, it, a fucking identify as a cat? Well, I mean, there's a school in Saskatchewan that that was one of my coworkers telling me about. There's a litter box in one of the fucking classes.
That was going to make me fucking look this up. This is not true.
One of the kids was identifying as a cat, so they decided they had to put some a litter box for this fucking kid who's identifying as a cat. True or not, actually I think it is. I didn't follow up. Regardless, that's just showing us the level of this woke shit.
Okay, but fair enough. On that, running with that, are you then able to, say, have a cordial conversation with the teacher that was in support of that, the principal, those kids' parents that were in support of it, or even that kid himself? Like, are you able to look past what seems off to you?
I don't know.
And have that...
I would like to think I'm open-minded enough. But this open-mindedness is going so ridiculously far, and in my opinion, just fucking stupid. What's this thing... the library Sunday readings with the transvestite. Okay, you know what? You want to be trans? Be trans.
The drag queens.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, you want to be trans, you want to be a cross-dresser, go right ahead. Personally speaking, I think it'd be confusing for a kid. So if I had a child, I would read them books, and I would take them to the library. But I wouldn't take them to Sunday trans queen child book reading.
All my entire childhood,
you were trans?
Every day, and at least once a week, MASH was on.
I still watch MASH.
For a long part of that series, one of its characters, Klinger, he was a fucking serial cross-dresser. Right?
Yes,
he was always in drag.
But he still liked women, and he did it to get out of the army, not because he really enjoyed being a cross-dresser. I think he played the character, but he wasn't doing it because it was, the trans library people...
No, but my point is, as a young child, I was not confused at what was happening, right?
But he was just trying to get a Section 8, remember?
Right.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing than some guy who just liked to dress up as a woman, put on a shitload of makeup, big hair, and read to kids on a Sunday morning.
Okay, well maybe it's a little bit different, but there was besides Klinger on MASH, there was during the 70s and 80s, like cross-dressing wasn't.
It's always been a thing since Greek times,
right?
Shakespearean times, in the theater. There was very few women. The men dressed up as women and portrayed women.
Right, and if kids were allowed in the theater, I'm sure they wouldn't be confused as what was going on.
No, I don't. Of course not. Everyone knew they were men, but it wasn't to the degree that it's getting at now. I mean, come on.
Maybe I have not. I've honestly not sat in on a drag queen read along, so I don't know how it is.
Neither have I, but you've seen it.
I can imagine it.
You're totally aware of what I'm talking about.
Okay. I know what a man in drag looks like, and I can picture that sitting in front of.
So when Max was 5 or 6. Would you read to him or go to the library, or would you take him actively to a trans reading just because it's the woke thing to do?
I think I probably would, just for the experience.
Well, I'd wait till he was a bit older. If it was me,
right? Because then I'd like to see well, how are kids reacting to this? Is it? I think it would be fine.
You don't look very convinced.
He's calling me out. This is what happens when you get friends who know you on your show. They're like, yeah, bullshit.
I mean, you know what? Again, I have no problem with that. And, and the thing with the pronouns, changing your name, changing your sexual identity, whatever it might be. You know what? They're kids. They're impressionable. Be an adult. Teach your kids. Teach your kids until they're old enough to start making decisions and proper decisions, not just.
Yes.
And then let them go and make their own decisions. But
kids are impressionable. Actually, disclosure, it's coming back to me now. In the 1970s, maybe 1980, and early 1980s, I dressed up as a woman twice
for fun,
for Halloween. But was I influenced by Klinger? I don't know. But I made a pretty cute girl.
Well, I'm sure you did. I don't think Klinger had anything to do with it. Probably you were fucking broke and it's all you can put together for Halloween costume, it's done. And maybe your sisters put some makeup on you.
That might have been it too. They thought it was fun to do dress up. And...
Well, yeah. I mean, it's Halloween. It's dress up. A girl, Frankenstein, Dracula, a pumpkin. Who cares? But I mean, I see very little relevance or connection to what we're talking about previously, and you dressing up as a girl twice. I've dressed up as a girl too.
I don't know how we got onto this tangent, but that's good. I'm glad that we had this chance to talk about who cares. You care.
Yep.
I care.
Number one guest. I'll always be number one.
We might have both at times individually or together done things that maybe aren't the most woke or the most appropriate or even the most legal.
No, I wouldn't say that. You know, back when I first kind of met you, I was working in restaurants. It was that kind of restaurant crowd. And, you know, after work, we'd go to the gay bars. And they had drag queens up on stage singing. But it was basically, there was gay and there was straight. Lesbian, fag. I hate the word fag, pardon me. It just has so many connotations. Gay for a guy, lesbian for a girl. There's guys up on stage, you know, dressed as women, doing drag. And it was fun, man. It was a great crowd, tons of fun, great party atmosphere. But when did it go from gay and lesbian and maybe a bit of drag to all this LGBTQ2+, whatever the fuck it is?
We almost got the whole sequence.
I don't even know what that means. I can't define every one of those letters. What's the +2 fucking thing supposed to be? Can you tell me?
It's another series. People can Google it. And we talked about it before. I'm just trying to preserve my integrity by not
having an opinion?
I have an opinion. I'm just saying I don't necessarily remember what all the letters mean right on this moment. Okay,
if you're
lesbian, bi, gay, trans, LGBT, queer, 2S.
What's that?
Two-spirit for the indigenous.
Oh,
because that's how they worked at it.
I have no idea what that's what that meant.
And plus, I guess for the cats.
Plus, for the ones who haven't been defined yet, they're still trying to find what they identify as.
Yes.
Okay, it's gone a bit too far in my opinion.
Okay,
that's
fair enough. Now, there's many of you, especially if you're younger and you're on the progressive side, many of you are going to think, those guys are fucking assholes. Like,
a couple old rednecks, yeah.
A couple old rednecks, right? I don't even know what the slang is for people that don't like...
Wait.
Anti-trans.
How about LGBTQ2+R? For redneck at the end. That identifies a fucking redneck.
It's like the Republicans. They just want to get in on the action, right? It's like I want to play
I identify as a redneck. Go to hell.
It's true. We used to make fun of him. He was our redneck hippie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
true.
And that is true. So thanks for being on the inaugural show of Who Cares.
Okay, so stop talking because we'll just keep going and going and going.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas. We're going to cheers. Now we're going to have some supper and a couple drinks. And all you losers can go do whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
Bye.
Night.
That was fun.
That was actually fun. I was kind of like, I didn't know what the fuck to expect. But honestly,
we do it again another time, and I get better lighting. And yeah, you're a fucking natural at this, dude.
After a few drinks, I might be.
You're an absolute natural.
Well, Britt.
Okay.